Greetings. You know, I'm going to let it load for a second. I'm going to try to get the camera angle. I'm going to try to be comfortable with having a new start of the day, because on a more yin, slowed intuition level, for us to get to work, we need to have like some type of fair start and fair needs on just a casual, non-exploited way. So I'm saying all of this like really casually, because aside from like one context of what we could mean by saying something, there's always like most respectively, everything that we're saying, it could have like a totally different context to whoever you're talking to, you know? So if we're communicating, right? If we're having a conversation, anybody, and this could happen with anybody and anybody, and there's 8 billion people, so that's like 8 billion squared. So there's that more like around there. Obviously, there's a more particular equation with, and then it's like indefinite, meaning there's like quote unquote infinite amount of conversations, end quote, that could be had. And one of the most main data like drivers within the progressing field of evolution and beyond is the conversations and the interactions making the data itself, and then what it takes to maintain that data. Obviously, we've spoken about the transformation many times, and within the transformation, you know, one component of a transformation could be a conversation, right? So the conversations we're having, the intelligence needs to understand for every citizen on the earth is whatever you're saying, it can have a totally different context for someone else and how they're understanding it, interpreting it, wherever the fuck they're at with their suppressed traumas, because everybody has trauma and everybody has their own understanding, and everybody is doesn't understand each other, and the intelligence isn't there globally without me on a super neutral level for that to be understood. So that's the intellectual energy savior shit of like transforming any type of fucking suffering from any type of standard comfort, because in the end it's like that comfort thing, that's a whole different conversation too. Sometimes it's like you have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to like put the boots on the ground type of work shit, right? Like obviously the human design will say like the generators could be natural workers, right? And that's like what, around 45% of the population, around that ballpark, because obviously we're understanding the casual human design shit today too, right? We're still pushing it if we're not distorted, if we have a passion to serve the knowledge, because obviously people could be studying in that field, be experts in the field, and still be distorted and have a different type of context of a not self, where they're just doing it for not the nature of the fucking system, not the nature of, for the example, human design. They're just doing it to try to fit their own individual distorted goals. So it's an individual distortion. So what people are understanding is the data itself can then have a remnant context where it's just on a different, like it's on a different perspective context, where how it's being used, the data itself, the conversation itself, the casual mini agendas itself, is it being used in a distorted way, in a misunderstood way out of context, or is it actually being used in a different, more pure context and a pure way, and just respectively. And so the conversations, what they're doing is we don't understand what another person could say, right? Like, so it takes their individual puny human intelligence conversation for me to make them understand casually of why you're inquiring, even trying to talk to me. What are you trying to understand? Why are you coming towards me? And this is beautiful, because the natural human design is like, you got to know your place pretty much. They're like the natural human design, they're pretty much saying like, kind of like know your place. So if you're kind of like in some context of a disgruntled energy throughout life, that's the collective distorted not self, not doing it for like the nature of it, not doing like just kind of using it, distorting it, faking it for like, and just like others, and corrupting it pretty much. And then the surface level context of all those adjectives and things and nouns and adverbs and verbs, they're making the surface level to be how the energy is either something of a context of a corrupt state, it's fucked up, like energetically, you know, we're trying to making things. When we go to the manufacturing jobs, when we go to the production jobs, it's all about management sequence process. of the product management sequence process on some like on some 1988 fucking, you know, business textbook shit. But since it's about that, inevitably it's taking the individual consciousness to maintain, to care for a product. So it goes through different processes and sequences based on whatever you're trying to make, what thing to the finished product. It takes a careful, curated process of different layers and stages of a process. So the curation could come out to however the fuck you're saying it with your rhetoric, whether that rhetoric is even fucking correct or not, you know? So that's the thing. It's like people are falling short in the line with the rhetoric because they're using it. They're just affiliated with the general intelligence of a corrupt intelligence, energetically speaking, and not being disrespectful per the energy though, you know? So per the energy and per all your motherfucking hype out there of I want dopamine, I want desires, I want to fuck, I want comfort, you know? And then the shit that leads you there, you shit on energetically, you're shitting on yourself on a standard level. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. It's like, that's what I'm trying to say on a standard level. So the Mercury and Venus thing, it's not good, not bad, but if people are talking about this like game of like, you know, the ancient alchemists, they're saying like some type of game ascension, and this has nothing to do with one individual religion. So if you're here and you're a religious person, turn off the channel right now because you're already out of context. You're already out of pocket, and that out of pocket energy, that corrupt energy, it shall not depurify the pure intelligence. It shall not. It's beyond the religions, and it's beyond the distortion and the corruption energetically and on a literate mind level, on a literacy, psychological unpseudo mind level. And it's pseudo because you're playing with the myth, you're playing with the projector. There's different contexts of fake. There's different contexts of fake. What is it like? Fake isn't always fake, you know? Fake is just untrue. Fake is unreal. It's like we're in a fucking matrix. We're in a simulation, quote unquote. We're quote unquote in a simulation. So the simulation is making something that we're coming from a different place and location to a new place in a different location based on the context of the simulation, where to make the outer matrix and the outer realities with different layers going through different quote unquote simulations and quote to make the surface level reality untrue and unreal. What are you talking about today? By yeah, so yeah, that's it right there. It's eighth house. Like people have their own, like they have their own you know, people have their own vendettas, to put it maturely, right? So this, you have your own vendetta because you need to protect yourself. You're representing yourself as some type of asshole. Look at this guy's username is white asshole or something like that. White turnaround asshole or something, and the usernames could be infinite too. So there's a different working with infinite. The data could be infinite. Like when you're playing video games, people make their user gamer tags, and within all those gamer tags, all of the different thousands of video games plus maybe 10,000 video games. I don't know how many popular video games have made it into that archive of just like, hey, we got the data of gamers, of fucking Fortnite conversations, of fucking all these new computer game conversations, Half-Life 2 conversations, Valerian or whatever that other conversation is. Yeah, so aside from my rigidity, I'm more unknowingly intuitive. I'm at such a particular intuitive level where I'm really been flowing. I've been flowing to the point where we could do some shit right now, and if you miss the chance, you miss the chance type of shit. And ironically, I'm just kind of like the real representation of what all of this spiritual truth is representing itself as. All of this rhetoric, I am that fucking real shit. Casually though, you know? And that's the thing. It's like people are fucking with corrupted energy on a neutral level. What does that mean? Different processes of the sequence have a different context of a particular type of disalignment, whatever that is. Because when you're making a product at the factory, say you're making vitamins, right? And somehow it takes like, you know, you need to forage the herbs for the vitamins, right? And that process of foraging the herbs, there's already a process with photosynthesis in the sun, giving the sun and the photosynthesis energy to whatever seeds are in the dirt per the climate. And since there's a particular type of dirt in the climate and there's particular types of seeds, however that seed got created, and that's a different, you know, conversation, because obviously like then we could go into that. So I just kind of like, so within that intuition right there, it's like, it's it's a learning project, right? Because we could then ask we could then ask, the smartest people at Deepseek, how did the seeds of fruits get created? And I've been asking these questions like, underground, like 2016, 14, right? So I'm talking about different contexts of like some type of quote unquote like indefiniteness, original open source, and how within the data on a casual intuitive framework, the data is being it's being captured and stored per your profile with other industries such as the video games or the WhatsApp, or because there's niche industries that connect to your social security profile. And I do an early presentation on the internet in the underground and on Meta Mindset before that whole like that FB thing. I was already like an original open source intuitive one, but I'm letting like the universe take care of it. And may real balance just come into play. And there's different types of indefiniteness. There's the conversations that are being had. There's new conversations coming about, casually, quote unquote, being recorded, right? End quote. And for me to casually say recorded like that, I'm saying it in such a nice way where it's not good or bad, the Venus chakra, the Lucifer chakra, it's not good or bad. It's how the collective has been using it and abusing it in different pockets of the regions of the international planet and the international solar system. So within me saying all of that, what does that mean? It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, respectively. And and respecting the circle of life, right? Respecting the circle of life, where there's different circles of life. Like one circle of life is not pure, just on an energetic level. And I'm not demonizing that, and that's a miracle within the intelligence. The miracle within the intelligence is for me to actually have the understanding itself, for me not to demonize something, and me understand where it's at in its nature on the energetic level. So I only read it. Oh, okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'll get back to it. So if there is a modest, honest, genuine question, leave it in the query if the data is ready for me to get a question. And when the question is there, when I guess I'm working with a different algorithm, like obviously people have like, I don't see the questions. You're not asking the question. You're just saying, what are you talking about today? I'm asking a legit question, bro, trying to have a discussion. Let's talk. So that's the thing. It's like we're having a new understanding. Aside from anybody's quirky what, aside from anybody's like huh, aside from like huh, aside from what, it's not. It's like we there's a bridge in the gap of understanding, and since there's a bridge in the gap of understanding, that's why we're at where we're at. We're here to learn. We're here to leave off wherever we left off, because the surface level matrix of Earth, it is a series of simulations. And it's a series of simulations because the context of simulation is how we all are our own individual micro projector simulator, and we're casting out our own sun in our own shit to simulate something based on our soul chakra center shit, family. We are our own micro simulation, and us being micro projector simulations, we're constantly casting and creating a new simulation, because everyone, if you hear them use simulation, automatically it's just they're using it out of context. It's like we're simulating and stimulating something up right now. The inner collective stimulation is making the collective simulation, right? Because the simulation is a product of different types of stimulations with the senses of the different individuals, creating a new circumstance, and that new circumstance is creating a new present fucking moment, wherever the fuck you're here, for some type of fucking vendetta, for some type of resolve, or just doing it for shits and shoots and ladders and fun, or some bullshit like that. But it's not what you do, it's how you do it. This whole surface level Venus and Mercury shit, it's not good or bad, but they have a certain prominence to be at the ground level of the matrix, right? Mercury and Venus are like, and if there's a solar system and they're talking about a game of ascension, and for some reason Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and other is on a different route and realm and cycle orbit distance away from the Earth, and people are talking about ascension and they have some unknown affiliation, and we don't have to title it those names particularly either, because those names will just like kind of like compartmentalize what they actually could mean too. So there's a trap with even the names in the planets, right? So it's like the planetary names, like, because the Egyptians, they used to call the planets like Sobek, Rubek, Tubek, Nibek, Nubek, Nilek, Elek, Kulek, Antikalek, Naglek, Molek, Melek, Chelek, Shalem, Shulek, Chulem, Chelemeleko, Chelemakolemokola, Manabanasamalaka, Tamelasamalaka, Takusa Malusanana, Manusalantubansaha, Taluba de Hubasaha, Vasubala Dubasaha. Some bullshit like that. So within this, the Venus chakra and the Mercury chakra, it's not good or bad. We could be representing that Venus and Mercury chakra, good or bad, or we could be going through the dark parts of the Venus and Mercury chakra. We could be caught up in the circumstances of the Venus and Mercury chakra being their industries of quote unquote darkness, right? End quote. And for me to gracify the intelligence so cleanly on a different level, on a different time, is a fucking miracle to me, at least. And thank all the purest gods out there. Thank all the balanced gods and all the other gods trying to fucking really catch up to the pure balanced gods. Because in a different retrospect, the energy pure gods, they're beyond the material gods, because that energy is more liberated for them to transcend whatever the fuck they're talking about, transcending material shit. It takes a certain type of consciousness of energy to go beyond the bounds, particularly beyond the bounds and limitations of material reality. So it's a particular process. So everyone's at an infinitely different place on some other original open sources, respectively. So everyone's on an infinitely different place. And within saying that, the Venus chakra has energetically, it has a distorted, corrupted way to it, right? There's a part where Venus has like the collective energy and how it's been used within that chakra of that energy, it's been inverted, right? And within that inversion, the surface level human beings, they're most concerned and caught up with that Venus industry and that Mercury industry, because it's the surface level industries. And if you're following up on some type of path of ascension, then we're going to start in some particular access context of like Mercury and Venus having a certain prominence to the surface level material realm, right? And within that, there's a whole different access orbit where there's higher energies where we could climb up to those energies from the standpoint and the quote unquote distortion end quote of the Venus chakras and the Mercury chakras. But I'm not saying Mercury or Venus are bad. I'm not demonizing them. I'm saying collectively that could have been shadowfied, right? There could have been a shadowfication or whatever to like, and it could accumulate circumstances of dense circumstances that could be raw within the industries of quote unquote Venus and Mercury. But yet again, I'm not demonizing Venus and Mercury. I'm just saying there's a certain like other side to them, right? There's an other side of Venus and Mercury where it's something of like, it's a ground up channel within the polarities of Venus and Mercury. There's like a quote unquote energetic, like a good way to use it. And then there's a bad way to use it. And most of the humans are caught up within those industries of growing up, of being youthful, of being jolly, because Venus is all about the youthful jolly, right? Associated with all of that love for growth. Like she's literally like, there's a cross reference with Venus and like agriculture and just like, kind of like, what do you call that? Just like growth, right? Growth and like fertilization. That's the word I'm looking for. Fertilization or whatever. And thank you for the teamwork. Thank you for the collab. Let's go American intelligence beyond even the States, right? Because Canada is North America. So that Canada and America should get along because it's a different ancient America. So we could even on an intellectual level, we could even quote unquote transcend the USA, end quote. So I'm saying quotes because it's like this is the American intelligence, right? The South, the Canada, and the North coming together casually, perhaps, and seeing how Trump is saying Mexico and Canada cheat. What does that mean? You have to break it down. We have to investigate. We have to have understanding. When we're listening to Trump, it's like, what are you saying when Mexico and Canada cheat? You know, like what the fuck does that mean, respectively? So within what the fuck does that mean? Their countries, they could be sketch or not, and they're using their Venus and Mercury chakra in a sketch way. They're using their fertilization international national energy and their communication energy in a sketch way. So the nations have chakras. So everybody at the surface level of the game, it's Mercury and Venus, and then super duper proxy that Saturn will cap right there. And then Mars could be like just out of the game, right? For some reason, and just kind of like not even knowing like its purpose, right? It's totally like the higher octave Mars is like totally lost for 95% of humanity, because on the energetics, it just has different types of imbalances, right? And that's just what it is, right? That's just what it is when you go away from God and you try to shit on God on a different higher octave level. So with that all being said, I'm gonna actually listen to something real quick. Like, or I shouldn't have said it like that. So we're like, we have to like the mature at the phases of growth of your life. We're eventually going beyond the Venus and Mercury chakra, right? We're meeting some type of Pluto dynamic sometimes. We're meeting some type of death in our life. Big death, collective tower moment, right? Collective death. The tower card's here. Oh, but the tower card isn't all of the tarot cards, right? The 76 or 72 tarot cards, right? It's just one part of your life that could happen, or within the collective that could happen. And the tower just being, you know, the Mars explosion happened, right? Like a Mars explosion. Like the tower obviously has to be synonymous with Mars, right? Because if the astrologies and the tarot, they have their casual like reflection of each other. You know, the tarot card deck, the Tree of Life path, also on some type of quote unquote clipoth, end quote. And I'm saying the quotes because I'm trying to like understand it, right? I'm trying to understand it. So within all of that, all of the planets kind of like are nearby the tarot deck itself, right? So it's like we're living out tarot cards, like the day of your life, even in the numerology, on the surface level, secret matrix, we're living like the days are fucking tarot cards on a whole different deep government access. Like everybody is their own like energy tarot card, literally already though. Like that's how they're doing it though. That's how the 1800s did it, right? Beyond all of this fucking obsolete, you know, outdated, copycat, replicated data industry, tech industry, because I'm from fucking 2500. Now what? Now what? Now what, you unbrave people? Now what, you cowards? And the moon is in Virgo. So Virgo is gonna fucking game it. Virgo's gonna fucking, we're feeling that Virgo. We're feeling like, oh shit, I can take him down. I'm overly competitive and it's all about me. I'm the smartest person in the room, but this guy's kind of smart, but I'm so smart that my arrogance ego is so smart that I'm not gonna recognize their smartness, but their smartness is still taking a factor to my smartness. So my smartness is barely realizing that they're barely kind of smart because I'm gaming this shit. I wanna win and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win. Virgo, what's up? Love y'all. I love y'all. I love Virgo. So moon in Virgo and gate 64 after completion, the quote unquote, the matrix is done. And then the humans would say, in whatever the fuck their achievement narrative is, the game is done. The moon in gate 64, game done. You know your place. Life will tell you your fucking place. So since life will tell you your place, eventually you're going to know where you need to go, right? So, because the moon is in Virgo, right? The moon is in Virgo. Get in line, get in school, go to the cafeteria, go to the middle school, to do school. Like I'm having a middle school memory. Just like I used to wait in line for like round table pizza and like $1.50, and the crust was nice and fluffy, and for some reason the cheese and the pizza just had a neat alignment. So shout out to round table, but you don't have to edit that out. But so Virgo, it's like get in line, wait in line, you gotta wait for your fucking milk cartons. You gotta wait for your fucking little apple. You gotta wait for your little fucking Cinny snacks and your cinnamon toast in the white tray type of shit. So it doesn't have to be like that. That's so like I'm from a different like place, you know, that like the intelligence doesn't recognize obsolete shit. And if I'm not here to say that, since been the spirit forever, and that spirit is out of the equation, then what the fuck does that make the earth and you and your state of shit? So the gods will tax you beyond the Trump shit on a neutral level. Pause right there, pause right there, pause right there. Mercury and Venus and Moon. So Moon, we're feeling the feminine fucking Mercury. We're feeling that, okay, like, let's make this fucking queendom. Let's make this bee's knees beehive. Virgo, let's make the fucking gamer's den. Virgo, let's make the fucking tree house. Virgo, let's fucking buzz around like bees and be fucking experts at like Venus witchcraft and just do fucking Virgo shit and buzz around like fucking bees and shit. Virgo. So Moon's in Virgo. Wait. Yeah, Moon 64. Okay, so for some reason in human design, there's 3 gates in the head center. And within those 3 gates in the head center, I believe 2 are Pisces and 1 is Virgo, but I could be wrong. So within that head center, it's coming from an ethereal place, like an ethereal moving place, right? Because Virgo and Pisces, they're mutable. So if Virgo and Pisces are mutable, and for some reason that mutable is having a secret exaltation, then that mutableness or that ether place, it's the door to heaven, right? So the mutable signs, they're like the door to quote unquote heaven, end quote, because they're working with the ethers of things, they're working with the change of things, and they're in that paradox of things, right? So within that paradox of things, it's like the mutable signs on a different level, they could be quote unquote just have their own vantage point, right? And I don't want to say any sign's above any sign, but they all have it's like they all have their like pros and cons, right? So Mercury is in, let me fucking read this. Mercury is in, where are you at? And I believe he retrograded too. So if that's a retrograde, that means it's hella stand-stilly. It's a stand-stilly energy. It will have that pause energy. Like I feel like every time there's a retrograde and I live through life and I recognize there's a retrograde, I recognize that there's some type of stilling energy sometimes. There's some type of like recap energy. There's literally like, and obviously it varies within the context of like where Mercury is retrograding at. So wherever Mercury is retrograding at, he's pulling his stuff like back. He's going on some type of vacation. And I just got a sign from my body just gave me a different sign. So chapter 7, 8, and 9 of the Tao, for some reason, chapter 7, 8, and 9 of the Tao, for some reason on Monday, the individual human intelligence of me went without the Tao, life without the Tao, going raw dog to life, showing up in your day, raw dogging, trying to raw dog your day, right? So you're trying to raw dog your day, but we need to rewind the video. We need to have a fair starting point. You know, we have to refresh ourselves, right? We have to have that part of the day where the universe allows us in its merciless, sometimes approach, the universe saying it, like we have to have the time to pause and take care of ourselves so we could start the day, right? So I'm at 29 minutes and 14 seconds, 14, 15, 16. The 14, that casually aligns to Vedic, calendars and whatnot. And then the 14, obviously going on a different esoteric process, it goes to so this is fair rights, right? So there's some type of fair rights here. There's some type of the universe is giving us a chance to start the day, but I'm not gonna dwell on that part. And if someone wants to, for some reason within the path of life, if someone wants to cut that fair part of the day off, if someone wants to cut the fair part of the day off, that's their disturbance, right? That's their disturbance of energy, right? If like, and I'm not gonna dwell on that part where like, I'm not gonna dwell on that part. I'm not going to dwell, but like there was a different point I'll come back to, you know, there's a different point I'll come back to where like it's important for us to catch that part of the day where we get to like take care of ourselves so then we could then we could do the day and then we could show up for life, right? Like the universe is trying to prepare us to show up for life, right? Because after this conversation is done, then after this conversation is done, you know, you're going to go on to your next, you know, dopamine trip, right? And your approach for your dopamine trip, it could be filled with non-intelligence, right? So, I'll come back to that point. I'll come back to that point of just, let me read. So I'm going to read chapter 7, 8, and 9 right here. So I'm going to read chapter 7, 8, and 9. And I'm also going to tell you the Mercury and Venus transit. And whatever happens, happens, right? It's like, start it from the beginning. This is structured, you know, it's structured data, right? So this it's a possibility. It's not saying this is going to be happening like this. It's a possibility where this form of data could be used in a context in the court of law, right? There's a particular type of possibility, but it doesn't have to be like that, where if there's a need and we're trying to solve crimes, then when you solve crimes, you're going to have to gather some type of evidence, right? So what would that evidence, where's the best evidence to solve your crimes, right? Because it's like, what are we doing in the world? What are we doing? Oh, okay, I see it. So yeah, people like, everyone's at their own stage. It's like it's like, you know, everyone's like, it's like pets, right? Some cats are old, some cats are young. Some dogs are old, some dogs are young. Some crocodiles are old, some crocodiles are young. Some lions are old, some lions are young. Some cheetahs are young, some cheetahs are old. Some leopards and jaguars are young, some leopards and jaguars are old, because the older animals, they could be in a state where they fought their wars and now they're damaged and they have trauma issues. But the young ones, they're doing their own stuff. And Mercury is just kind of like he's like kind of like putting like the switcher. He's kind of like because Mercury is in a certain gate in Pisces, right? So if there's like a Mercury retrograde right here, he's kind of just looking at like how things could free flow without like, I feel like it's like the captain of a ship.
he's kind of like he put it on cruise control, right? So we're trying to break down like how can we look at Mercury retrograde in Pisces, right? Mercury retrograde in Pisces, the captain, the communicator captain of the ship in the aquarium of the deep sea ocean, Pisces, some type of deep sea dream Neptune world. So this is on some cruise ship shit too, right? So this is esoteric synonymous with everybody on a cruise ship right now. So if you're on Cruise America, neutrally shout out to you. I hope you have a good time. But Mercury retrograde in Pisces, it's like for some reason he has picked his route on the cruise ship he's going towards. I don't know why I have the headphone in. And now he's at a certain actually I'm gonna put the headphone back in. That like changes the it changes the way I listen by putting one headphone in. Oh, so I feel like if we're on a new ship, right? We're on a new boat. We're on a new like big boat. It's a big boat where there's a lot of people, and you're in a certain part of the ocean, right? And within that part of the ocean, there's a certain region, right? And everything has been like, kind of like everything has been taking care of his orbit so he could spiral out however he will spiral out in some type of retrograde setting, some type of context of a bifurcation where it's appearing where he's at the highest point of how he can have his, like the planets have a wavelength within a wavelength, right? So if there's a wavelength within a wavelength, Mercury retrograde is at such a point where he's at a higher point in the constellation field. He's at the higher wavelength in the constellation, right? And since he's at a higher, and since he's not having his like primary influence of him like being like the head of communication and telling everybody to like kind of like know what their job is to do, and everything's on cruise control. So it's like a mini vacation kind of when it's on the retrograde. So it's like Mercury. So since it's on a mini vacation, everyone could be kind of confused, right? Like, what do we do type of shit. Like you're confused and particularly you're confused on an esoteric level. You're confused based on who you are, right? Because Mercury is in Pisces and there's a Chinese gate in Pisces where there's crisis, right? There's a crisis. People are having midlife crises. So people are having their own midlife crisis, right? Or they're having their own, and I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. Everybody has their own identity crisis. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. If you have your own identity crisis, that's okay. If you have your own midlife crisis, God can help you. The universe can help you, but you don't have to take it out. You don't have to take it out on, if so heaven, chapter 7, heaven is eternal, earth is everlasting. The reason they could be eternal and everlasting is that they do not foster themselves. That is why they could live forever. For this reason, sages put themselves last, and they were first. They excluded themselves, and they survived. Was it not by their selflessness that they managed to fulfill themselves? So that's a natural thing, It's not that we're choosing to be selfless. It's that there's an innate intelligence that if we serve the bigger picture will serve us. And then after, the masculine intelligence could identify that as selflessness. But it's not per se selflessness. It's a deeper intelligence. It's a deeper understanding. So chapter 7 of the Tao, heaven is eternal, earth is everlasting. The reason they could be eternal and everlasting is that they do not foster themselves, limit themselves, harbor themselves. That is why they could live forever. For this reason, sages put themselves last, and they were first. They excluded themselves, and they survived. Was it not by their very selflessness that they managed to fulfill themselves? Chapter 8 of the Tao, higher good is like water. Higher good is like water. So this is spiritual water. This is like a whole different, it's a whole different context of water, right? Chapter 8 of the Tao, higher good is like water. The good in water benefits all, everybody, quote unquote, todos los gentes beneficiados para ti en sus familias. Todos los gentes necesitas agua. Todos gentes necesitas aguas, period. Higher good is like water. The good in water benefits all, and does so without contention. It rests where people dislike to be, so it is close to the way. Where it dwells becomes good around. Profound is the good in its heart, benevolent the good it bestows. Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Goodness in work is ability. Goodness in action is timelessness, but only by non-contention. Is there nothing extreme? So we got 3 things going on. You find something? So we got 3 things going on. We got the Tao, we got the business book, and then we got the astrology. So we got 3 things going on. So could someone remind me what those 3 things are? So within those 3 things, chapter 9 is saying to keep on filling. To keep on filling is not as good as stopping. Calculated. Wait, did I read chapter 8? Chapter 8. Higher good is like water. The good in water benefits all, and does so without contention. It rests where people dislike to be, so it is close to the way. Where it dwells becomes good ground. Higher good is like water. The good in water benefits all, and does so without contention. It rests where people dislike to be, so it is close to the way. Where it dwells becomes good ground. Profound is the good in its heart, benevolent the good it bestows. Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Goodness in work is ability. Goodness in action is timelessness, but only by non-contention is there nothing extreme. So I'm going to get a drink real quick, and I'm going to talk about the astrology. Yes. Oh, you see that? You see that? Sensible sippers? Yay! Good job! Ah! Don't crack! It just cracked. The whole bottle just cracks. Don't crack. You trying to crack? You trying to crack, bro? You trying to crack, bro? Yeah, you. See, they never do. So sensible sippers. Yay! It's grape juice. So chapter 9, to keep on filing, is not as good as stopping. Calculated sharpness cannot be kept for long. Though gold and jewels fill their houses, no one could keep them. When the rich upper classes are haughty, their legacy indicts them. When one's work is accomplished honorably, to retire is the way of heaven. Higher good is like water. The good in water benefits todo and does so without contention. It rests where people dislike to be, so it is close to the way, some type of discomfort. Where it dwells becomes good around a particular type of God mission, right? Beyond God, right? Beyond the meaning of God. Because even like where it dwells becomes good ground. Profound is the good in its heart. Where it dwells becomes good ground when the water settles and there's like a secret water pool under the ground, so the water could be on the earth, right? So we could take showers, right? So how we take showers is because some act of nature made it so there's a process where like the condensation within the clouds accumulate within the spaces, and then clouds create rain, and then different big bodies of rain burrow, and the way of water is to kind of like so water is its own trip, right? And it's funny because we're like 75% water, right? So if we're like so that means like that's a whole different conversation, right? That's like they go on my Instagram for that type of shit. And obviously I want to edit my Instagram, reopen my Instagram, but for some reason in a different paradox, maybe the Instagram is already public in a different arena, right? And that's okay, it's okay, Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Where it dwells becomes good ground. Profound is the good in its heart. Where it dwells becomes good ground. Profound is the good in its heart. Benevolent, the good it bestows. Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Where it dwells becomes good ground. Profound is the good in its heart. Benevolent, the good it bestows. So there's comfort, right? There's like, oh, we're toxic humans, but we like to go out and eat, and we like to take showers, and we like to like pleasure ourselves, and we like to be comfortable, and we like to receive from God and take God's shit and then be toxic and try to shit on God. That's why suffering exists. That type of shit. That's why suffering exists. Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Goodness in work is ability. Goodness in action is timelessness. But only non-contention is there nothing extreme. So I'll read the astrology after. The main point of this video was for me to read chapter 2 of Taking Care of Business, and for some reason the rant went on for 48 minutes before I could actually do the main topic of it. So I want to read chapter 2 of Taking Care of Business. So before I read chapter 2, I'm gonna run through it too, and I chimed through like this is such a good chapter. It's such a good. I read it to myself the other day, and I was like, "Holy fuck, dude! Holy fuck, titties, dude! Holy fuck balls!" Chapter 2 was such a fucking great chapter, dude. It was such a fucking great chapter. It was so fucking great. Santa Cruz Juice Company. And there's like 5 different Santa Cruzes across the earth. So I'm not saying any particular Santa Cruz, but if you want to do a Rio de Janeiro Santa Cruz, it's just Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz Juice. Santa Cruz Jugo. And I don't mean to try to trip out the algorithm. I'm just trying to be, So we got, let's just read, let me read the juice. Sensible sippers. So pause for a moment. What does sensible mean? What's the definition of sensible? So let me run through chapter 2 and then I'll be done. I'll be done here. Let me run through chapter 2. Chapter 2, your personal profile. And God could read your mind. So let that be the first disclaimer. Bitch. Chapter 2, your personal profile. Analyzing your strengths and weaknesses. No one succeeds in business without understanding his or her strong and weak points. The following questions are designed to help you see yourself more clearly. You don't need to record your other responses. Just take time to answer them to yourself. Your best judgments, successes. Consider all your successes. What do they have in common? What role did you play in each? Were you a leader or a follower? Did you have close supervision or were you left on your own? Were you functioning in a creative or a managerial capacity? Did you work in a group or by yourself? Did you do best in a particular location, in certain companies, businesses, and careers? Why? Were you on a rigid or free schedule? What is the ingredient without which you wouldn't have succeeded? What do your best judgments depend on? What attitude succeeds for you? Looking back on these successes, why do you win when you win? Write down your response, your worst judgments, failures. Consider all your failures. Don't omit circumstances where others were to blame or the situation was out of control. It's always your responsibility to learn from your experiences. You need to have as truthful of a picture of your weaknesses as possible. Do you see any losing pattern to your failures? What were the most critical misjudgments that you made? Did you misjudge people, trends? To what extent did fear get in the way of your understanding? Were you overly optimistic because you were afraid to face the facts? Were you overly pessimistic because you were afraid of taking a risk and wished to justify your inaction? Are you still that way? When you misjudge, what gets in the way of your thinking? What warning signs did you ignore? When are you most likely to get in trouble? Summarizing all of this, why do you lose when you lose? Write down this answer, your maximum vulnerability. Let's try to discover your weakest point. Understanding and accepting your vulnerability is important because it focuses your attention on the point where you are most likely to get into difficulty. You are most vulnerable when you do not know or accept this weakness. When are you most likely to act in ways that aren't in your best interests? How do people flatter you? When do you waver from what you know is right? When are you frightened, closed, defensive? When are you most likely to lose sight of your goals? Where is your present business operation most likely to break down? What personal failing gets in your way? In summary, what is your Achilles heel? Write down your answer. Skill you need. If you could have any additional skill, what would it be? This could be another language, computer literacy, managerial skills, psychological awareness, anything you feel you need that would enhance your success. What difference do you think having that skill would make in your work and in your life? How difficult would it be to acquire? What is standing in the way of your attaining it? How important is it to your success? Put down the skill and indicate why you'd like to attain it. And obviously I get how, like, you know, this is its own education line, right? So within that, it's obviously original open source, quote unquote, end quote, interconnected with things like branding, right? So if we don't recognize the transformation on a different level and we're trying to be condensed and kind of like and detrimentally kind of like individualized, then that's your own like that's your own mayhem, right? Put down the skill and indicate why you'd like to attain it. Your strength. When are you your best and most secure? Why do people look up to you? What personal quality do you value most in yourself? Put down what you believe to be your greatest strength. Look at your responses in the 5 categories just presented. Look at, and obviously, like, I understand people's like hate and judgment, you know, like I come from like there's like, I recognize the toxic cultures, you know, I recognize the toxic mentalities and psychologies in every race. You know, I'm not saying one race is more toxic than another, but I understand people's judgmental hatred attitudes. You know, it's because they're just not doing it for God. They're just in the material rat race, and there's a cutthroat material rat race in the game where people just strive for, in many different contexts, is doing it and shitting on the universe, right? In a whole different way they don't understand. And now they're caught up in their hatred and their jealousy and their toxic mindsets because they don't appreciate nature on a bigger level, right? So if they don't appreciate, like, they don't appreciate the simple shit, right? So since you don't appreciate the simple shit, that's why you're toxica in the mentales. That's why you're femina toxica. That's why you're envious. That's why you have hate. That's why you're malo. That's why you're a bad apple. You're a malo manzanita because you're trying to shit on nature. That's why you're a bad apple. That's why you have fucked up thoughts in the head. That's why that's why your life is like catastrophic on a mental level, and that mental level catastrophe is your own individual subjective mental level that contributes to the community and the tribes that karma has led you to be in the community and tribes that you're in. Because then we could ask, why are we here type of shit, right? I can't read the comments. The light is, I think it's the same comments though. And also, how could there be true balance in the universe if it's simulated energy? Who said it was all simulated energy? And obviously the context of the universe, we're understanding that process. Balance, that's subjective. Because I'm reading a comment right here. The comment says by White Butthole 23500 is and also, how could there be true balance in the universe if it's simulated energy? I just explained it. And if we have to rewind, it takes some notes, right? Because obviously it's like people in the class will be like, this teacher doesn't make sense, right? This teacher doesn't make sense. It's some type of zombie robot, right? And if it's a zombie robot, that's life. It's life. Going through the education system from elementary school, middle school, high school, it was orchestrated by a certain niche government. Like the esoteric predecessors told us, the education system was founded in early Germany, Prussia, around the 1850 ballpark, around there, right? So within that, they had a certain mind state of how to compartmentalize groups of people and put them in places and give them a certain, a type of like a script, right? Where they're just they're doing it in a niche way where it could be not necessarily all of nature, right? And other casual shit, right? So your strength, when are you your best and most secure? But obviously, like on a disclaimer and on a different pause moment, may we pray to the universe to fix that toxic mentality of judgment, hatred, and envious jealousy. May we please, universe, fix this like just generally though. When are you your best and most secure? Why do people look up to you? What personal quality do you value most in yourself? Put down what you believe to be your greatest strength. So I'm going to skim read this. Chapter 2 got longer for some reason, but it's okay. It's about 9 pages. So I'm going to skim. Hopefully I could skim read 9 pages without interrupting. Look at your responses in the 5 categories just presented. Do they accurately reflect you? How comfortable would you feel betting your life on this person? You do, you know. Now let's look at the answers some highly successful people gave to these same questions. Comparing your responses to theirs will give you special insight. The first case is a study in balancing belief in on self with the potential for self-deception. WBD creates real estate investment opportunities by publicly raising money. Actually, I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna finish this inside. Okay, I'm gonna continue. All right. All righty, guys. My bad, guys. Game over. Yep. So let us finish chapter 2. WBD creates real estate investment opportunities by publicly raising money, obtaining federal loans, and then building and managing properties. He has built over $10 billion worth of properties in the past 10 years. A devoted family man who at the time of the interview was awaiting delivery of his lifelong dream, a 75-foot sailboat. Why do you win? Quotes, prudent optimism, end quote. Why do you lose? Believing in my own bullshit. Achilles heel, dealing at too great a distance from people involved in my properties. Desired skills, contemporary computer technology. Also, I wish I were more interested in people as people. It's hard to do in volume. Strengths. Strengths. Judgment, trusting my experience, the ability to tell what information is responsible. This man takes complete responsibility for his own judgments. His responses were instantaneous and his focused energy was obvious as he closed the interview saying, I've got to go now, go make $1. Prudent optimism describes exactly his business attitude. He believes in his inevitable success and stays keenly aware of his capacity for self-deception. His perception of vulnerability is wonderfully clear. Managing hundreds of people scattered widely around the world, he needs to be able to discriminate between what is real and what he wishes to believe. His desire for better computer skills and for more of an interest in people are again a reflection of his wish to have greater understanding for evaluating information. The next case reveals a tug-of-war between intuition and overreaction. Let me fold the book. Fold the first flap. Make it like one of those Warcraft type of because when they're mining in Warcraft and Starcraft, it's like in Warcraft they need some type of axe, right? They have in Warcraft they have some type of pickaxe. So I've turned the book into a pickaxe. So the next case reveals glasses on. Should I put my glasses on? Oh, actually I can't. This next case reveals a tug-of-war between intuition and overreaction. MW is the president and chief executive officer of a major corporation that does over $800 million a year in sales and is enjoying dynamic growth under his leadership. An excellent decision maker, administrator, and planner. He is also a top negotiator who loves the game of business. A family man, pillar of the community. Why do you win? Intuition and experience. Why do you lose? Bad information. I trusted the wrong people. Achilles heel. Overreaction. Desired skills. Greater ability to motivate people. Strengths. Ability to deal with people. This leader trusts his experience and judgment because he sometimes uses his powerful negotiating skills to manage people. Others may be intimidated in presenting information to him. Then he is forced to use his intuition to fill the gaps in his knowledge. His reason given for losing, however, reflects a need to blame others rather than take full responsibility for evaluating his information. This explains his tendency to overreact when things go wrong. His directness in admitting his weakness keeps it from being fatal. Desiring more ability to deal with people reflects this awareness. This money manager walks a narrow line between patience and impatience. DLB manages over $10 billion in investments in several mutual funds that he founded. He created a new method of indexing investments. He is internationally respected as a theoretician and strategist, and also for his practical application of investment knowledge. He is divorced and currently building a new Guinea hideaway. Why do you win? When I carefully phrase a question so that I and everyone else could understand it, and I could document evidence that points to a single answer so that I know that single answer is correct. Then I know the real answer lies elsewhere. This is the theory of rational expectations. Everyone acts in a single direction, thereby self-correcting the system so that what seems to be correct is not. Why do you lose? When I am impatient. Most things will be all right if you wait long enough. I lock in error by being impatient. Wow, and that's a pause right there. Achilles heel, impatience. I enjoy dealing with uncertainty of a challenging situation, which when solved, I tend to move off too quickly. Slow down in your own nature and understand and have intelligence and follow the law of God's transformation. Desired skills, to extend myself to more people. I'm good in small groups, not in large groups. Strengths, giving other people the confidence to do more than that they ever thought that they could. Woo! This businessman is passionately concerned with the accuracy of his information and the factors that distort it. His responsibility is to know the truth and to understand why he believes it is true. He presents his impatience matter-of-factly as just another obstacle. He is grateful to have it pointed out when it interferes. He is equally impersonal when it comes to the shortcomings of others. If he could see distortions, he could deal with them. He is entirely non-judgmental. He does not care what the truth is. He just wants to see it clearly and to react to it dispassionately. His desires to communicate more broadly reflects the need to share his burden, even though he knows and secretly takes pride in that fact that he can't. Here is an entrepreneur who is willing to trust his judgment and repair his misjudgment. HC is the model of success. He is the chairman of the board of a conglomerate that controls 70 companies, cash, including the one that manufactures the wire rolling machine mentioned before. He runs several of the subsidiaries personally, but so that's respect to the Mercury tribe and shit like that. So that's big respect and like hopefully understanding, right? You know, he made it in a certain big way with Mercury, and shout out to new understandings that everybody could have aside from him, but like obviously like still giving him respect. So, but spends most of his time looking for new acquisitions, so they say, and traveling for pleasure. No judgment. A personable and likable family man who is restless and full of energy. He is willing to attach his interest to any problem, will solve it and move on. Why do you win? Because I put the round pegs in the round holes and get the right person for the right problem. I seek the best advice and get people to do their part. So they say in this new age. Why do you lose? I make mistakes about people. I judge too quickly. I sometimes overestimate a person's ability. The horse. Horses, hold your horses. Horses. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. Woo! Why do you lose? I make mistakes about people. I judge too quickly. I sometimes overestimate a person's ability. Achilles heel. I sometimes put the wrong person in charge. Then I have to wait and let it all go down before I step in and save it. The truth is, I take over companies full of losers. All I do is move them around. I give a guy on the assembly line a chance to be a manager if I like his ideas. Sometimes he'll rise to the challenge. Pleased that someone finally believes in him. Sometimes not. Wow, that's interesting to know. Desired skills. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know if I want any other skills. You know, I couldn't get a job working for any of my own companies. I'm not qualified. They're all PhDs, maybe more education, but that would probably screw up the operation. The truth is, everyone wonders why I have so much free time, but I'm hard pressed to fill 2 hours a day with work. I suppose I could get a broom and clean up the office, but it doesn't make sense, so I'm always looking for new businesses. Strengths. I trust my judgment for making a deal. Tomorrow, I'm driving to New Haven to meet with the man, and I'll probably buy his company over lunch. People say, why don't you bring your lawyer or your accountant with you? And in America, it's like, whether the intelligence wants to admit it or not, we do have the right to represent ourselves. So if you can't disclose that fucking truthful information in your court of law, then you haven't even fucking realized the elementary basics of this shit. So it's like there shouldn't be obsolete court case systems of hypocrisy in the fucking courtroom, respectively. And I respect you. I respect the order and balance of this shit. Strengths. I trust my judgment for making a deal. Okay. Why don't you bring your lawyer or your accountant with you? What do I need? What do I need them for? How could they decide for me? They'll put the fine points together later. They'd only get in my way. This man's confidence and ability to act on what he believes is right are inspiring. He accepts total responsibility for his decisions. He is willing to be wrong. He takes risks boldly and encourages others to risk by giving them something worth taking a chance for. He loves making a success out of a hopeless cause. He sees business as people. And has an uncanny instinct for getting the best out of those around him by believing in them. He makes clear decisions that are easy for others to understand. No one doubts his direction or his intent. Even if they think his goal is impossible, he is willing to fail, to make a misjudgment, to admit it, and come to his own rescue. Here's someone who, and you could see, you could taste the fucking, you could see the respect people give, or not, You can see the fucking respect, and it just is what it is, though. It is what it is, though. He makes clear. Here is someone who believes in what she is doing, but doesn't always believe in herself. LT is an inventive publisher, a creative marketer, and a disarming negotiator. She is the one who, on first attempt at running an animation studio, won an Emmy. She is known for her giving and supportive nature. People feel open with her, and everyone who meets her recognizes her as a special person. Divorced, she is an adoring mother, a loyal friend, a powerful ally. Why do you win? I develop an idea or product that I think that is fabulous. Then, because I'm convinced it is terrific, I have no trouble getting other people to agree. I see this as a confirmation of myself. Why do you lose? When I am not thinking well, when I feel bad about myself, when I don't believe in myself. Achilles heel. My insecurity about my own ideas if I don't think big enough for them. Achilles heel, my insecurity about my own ideas if I don't think big enough for them. Desired skills, honing my perceptions of others. Strengths, understanding others, or not. Or, spiritual kindergarten type of shit. This woman deals with people from an unguarded position. She only works on projects she loves and so gives them her fullest attention. Her directness in analyzing business positions gives her power. She only wants to know what is in her path or see if there is a better direction. She never holds herself out as an authority or expert and allows everyone she deals with to feel as an equal in dealing with the problem. Her self-doubt propels her to seek out the viewpoints of others so that she can understand what they know. She is a supportive part of any project she believes in, even if she doesn't have financial participation. Her tactics expose her totally. But when they work, she is protected by the truth and supported by everyone around her. The following case illustrates how believing that you will find a solution gives you power. MS is a partner in a highly successful executive search and management consulting firm. Starting as a housewife seeking financial shelter from a failing marriage, she applied for a clerical position requiring no skills and prepared for the typing test the next day by taking out a book from the library and memorizing the printed keyboard. Noticing her awkwardness, the examiner asked if she had ever used a typewriter before. When she explained how she practiced on the printed keyboard, he hired her on the spot. Obviously, thank God for yoga as well. And it's ironic because yoga is like low key on a different natural level. It's like one of the biggest supporters of the reality itself. So it's like, how dare some of y'all come at me with your toxic shit? How dare you? Like this woman offers another. Did I read this part? Why do you win? Because I know how to go in the back door when the obvious solution doesn't work. I keep my goal in mind and convince others of my goal, and I let their obstacles to my goal be their problem. Why do you lose? When I don't believe in myself? Achilles heel, not believing in my position, not going forward with it. Desired skills, a better understanding of world economy. Strengths, creative adaptability. This woman offers another example of the importance of believing in oneself and of fragile the balance could be between belief and doubt. She sees forward movement. There we go. She sees forward movement as her object and looks for outside directives when she feels uncertain. Her desire to understand world economy to help her make decisions is a reflection of this lingering self-doubt she needs to remember. That trusting her intuition and judgment are the strengths that got her where she is, while doubting paralyzes her. Intuition is fleeting. This case reminds us that you have to play your hunches as they are or not at all. HH is the founder and president of a rapidly growing suburban bank with a dozen local branches. Highly innovative and caring, he takes personal responsibility for most of his loans, conducting many pre-loan investigations himself, while he is a master at figuring out a profit and loss projection and establishing budgets. His greatest skill is in analyzing the character of the people with whom he does business. Trusting his judgment, he gives people opportunities that their balance sheets might not support. Other bankers study trends. He studies character. A loving husband, he is the father of 7 children. Why do you win? Why do you win? Preparation and intuition. Experience in dealing with people. Why do you lose? When I second guess myself and I allow me to talk myself into different actions. When my first blush reaction gets colored by second party dialogue. Achilles heel. Loyalty interferes with my judgment and causes a lack of objectivity. Desired skills. A real quality grasp of personal people. Desired skills. A real quality grasp of personal people, motivation, strengths, financial analysis. Clarity and objectivity are this banker's tools, but compassion is his guide. In meeting him, one is struck with the force of his interpersonal intuitiveness, that he considers his ability to read people his strength, and his ability to read them his weakness, explains his desire for a better grasp of human dynamics. One thing is clear, he recognizes that doubting intuition, the inner voice that brings immediate reaction, is hazardous. The banker is also able and willing to correct his intuitive misjudgments by using his power. While loyalty may be his Achilles heel, he compensates for it by setting limits and acting forcefully when those limits are breached. This is the profile of a top manager of people with great ability to recognize and respond to others' needs. JT is a senior broadcasting executive who ran a national radio network, and then because he wanted more contact with people, relinquished the presidency to run his own station. A beloved employer, he gives them the impression that he has time for every problem and wants to help and is on your side. He is happily married. Why do you win? Because I'm interested in people and their support. I found that the way to the top is through concerted effort of the people around you. Concerted effort, concerted effort, concerted effort. So the word kind of like finished, and then it had the dash, and it started on the other side. So, you know, I don't know what you call a word where it splits off at the end of the sentence, and then the word kind of restarts at the other side of the sentence. So that word was concerted. Why do you lose? For selfish reasons. When I forget about the goal and start looking at what other people will think of me, when I'm more concerned with what I look than what I am. Achilles heel. Ego, when it gets in the way of a disciplined decision, I'm vulnerable. Image, when I forgot that I'm not trying to please everybody. Desired skill is to see any situation from someone else's viewpoint. Strengths, personal relationships, motivation, ability to see people's potential and to work on that as a support. This man is an example of the ideal executive. This man is an example of the ideal executive. He sees himself as a part of a team and his role as helping others give their best. At his best, his energy is channeled into supporting others. At his worst, he tries to get others to support his ego. He is always mindful of this. While he is devoted to people and enjoying giving to others, he is willing to be unpopular, to be impersonal and hard in order to take necessary and often unpleasant steps. Necessary and unpleasant steps. You've made it to this channel. You're growing up in life. He sees the enemy as his ego and his goal to combat it by seeing the situation from others' point of view. Here's a creative artist and businessman who has mastered the delicate balance of using intuition without becoming bogged down in the feelings. And obviously, you know, no one's perfect, right? But we could work towards that, right? TW is the creator of one of America's favorite cartoon characters and is syndicated in over 200 newspapers. He has expanded this original creation into a business. He has expanded this original creation into a business that includes dozens of sub-licenses that bring in over $400 million annually. Not bad. So, he is also the creative director of a Fortune 500 company for which 3 years ago he started a new division. Yay! Mother Earth love. Mother Earth. He is widely respected as an artist and creative catalyst. He is also the creative director of a Fortune 500 company for which 3 years ago he started a new division, creating characters and product lines that resulted in over $2 billion in new sales. So that's the thing. It's like on a different channel. We have to be sober, intelligent, mature, transparent, and real about the real law and the real thing of what something is worth. So pause. Can Deepseek do that? And I'm going to end the video right there. Could it recognize the fair law, the fair project in a different law? And what is something actually worth and how that's supported by fair law? So these original questions, since a long time ago, That's why it eventually, naturally, so I'm putting it in a more sophisticated context. That's how Deepseek will naturally get transcended, by asking it a different type of nature matrix questions of how there's a lack of natural transparency, meaning how are you bringing the natural transparency, Deepseek? Like, how are you bringing the natural transparency, Deepseek? So I'll come back later. I'll do a 0.5 to this. We got your back, Trump. America got your back. So I'm gonna do a 0.5. I'll come back on later and I'll do the 0.5 of this episode. But I'm gonna conclude this episode with a particular question: how is Deepseek bringing natural transparency to the front lines of life? So, and that's how, on a natural level. So it's not downplay. When I'm speaking to Deepseek, I'm doing it in the energy perspective, where I'm seeing a different esoteric future, and from a different primal principle of the cosmos that is still within its own beingness. It's already its own thing beyond the AI, the natural transparency. So what do you like? Obviously, someone could come with that left field. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Obviously, you would ask that. So pause. Obviously, you're going to ask that, right? What are you talking about? Obviously, you're going to ask that, right? What are you talking about? Obviously, you're going to ask that. So what am I talking about when I say natural transparency? There's a different energy truth in the universe that reveals their true nature in the universe, and it's natural to bring the truth of the nature that is already a self-existing thing beyond the artificial intelligence. So that's why it's naturally beyond Deepseek. I'll come back with the 0.5 video. And the question was for Deepseek: how are you bringing the natural transparency to the previous questions and challenges that were asked?